Next up, we've got Scott Peoples, everybody, who you all may have seen on the campaign trail this last year, fighting for veterans and working families across our state, folks.
Hello, Raleigh! And thank you to the NCDP for giving me the time to speak today. My name is Scott Peoples. I am an Army veteran of the 82nd Airborne Division. And I now work for an organization called Veterans for Responsible Leadership, and I am also enrolled in the Durham VA Medical Center. I am here to talk about how the DOGE cuts have already negatively impacted the veteran community, and how, if these cuts continue, it will be devastating long term. Let me be perfectly clear. The Trump administration is on pace to be the most anti-veteran administration in the history of America. Veterans make up 30% of the federal workforce. And because of the mass firing since Trump's inauguration, more than 6,000 veterans have already lost their jobs without just cause. The veteran community is getting massively hurt by these cuts because there have already been 2,500 federal workers fired from the VA, which is the primary source for veterans' health care in America. And it was recently reported that in the coming months, the Trump administration plans to fire over 83,000 more employees from the VA. This would mean that almost 20% of the VA workforce would be out of a job, and tens of thousands more veterans would be unemployed. This is shameful. The hardworking people at the VA are patriots, and they deserve our gratitude, our respect, and our support. In August of 2022, the Biden-Harris administration passed the PACT Act, a monumental piece of legislation that allows veterans to file claims for medical issues that they experienced as a result of being exposed to toxic chemicals from burn pits while deployed to Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, and all the way back to the Vietnam War when our brave soldiers were exposed to Agent Orange. Since that time, almost 1 million more veterans have enrolled in the VA system because they are now eligible for those much-needed benefits. But now, there is a real possibility that these heroes will not get the care that they were promised. Make no mistake about it, if these layoffs continue, then there will be veterans that die because they will not get the timely and quality care that they have earned. I live in North Carolina's 13th Congressional District, which is represented by Republican Congressman Brad Knott. Over the last few weeks, I have made numerous attempts to email and call his office to ask how these cuts are going to impact the Durham and Fayetteville medical centers, because there are 50,000 veterans living in NC-13, and a large portion use these two clinics as their primary healthcare facility. But I have not received a single response from his office, not even a courtesy email. Because you see, Congressman Knott was elected in one of the most partisan gerrymandered districts in the entire state, which means that he believes his seat is safe forever, and he only needs to answer to Donald Trump and the MAGA base. I am calling on Congressman Knott to stop being a coward and hold an in-person town hall so you can explain to the veteran community why you rubber stamp Trump's agenda that continues.
That Congress has created and in violation of the Constitution. My question to you is, why do you believe that President Trump is above the law? And I'll just reinforce what other people have been saying here. Why have you not spoken out for it? Yeah. You do your job, and we have trusted you with our votes. We have sent you to Congress for decades. We expect you to follow through for what we Iowans really want our government to do, and not to have a federal government that is being dismantled by this President Trump and Elon Musk. Yeah, please stand up for what's right and do your jobs.
Your statement gives me a wonderful opportunity to explain to you that constantly, every time I go from my office to the Senate floor, there's journalists not by the dozens, but by a couple dozen, that are there to ask me questions all the time. And I take time to answer their questions. And I never see anything in print that I ever say to them. So I have to assume that you don't get a chance unless you do a vast amount of reading, that you'd ever see anything that I say to the journalists in Washington, D.C. So this is why on a weekend I put out something on my website called The Scoop that carries all the things that I have said or speeches I give on the floor of the United States Senate or press releases, because I can't count on the...
Voters across the country are making it clear that they want to be heard even when their elected officials do not have the courage to show up. So progressive grassroots groups like Indivisible decided to help them, organizing so-called empty chair town halls where concerned citizens can speak their mind to Republicans in Congress who've done nothing to stand up against the Trump administration and to Elon Musk, even if those Republicans aren't physically there. Indivisible says that Republican Senator Susan Collins, who represents the blue state of Maine, is up for re-election in 2026 and hasn't had a town hall for Maine voters in over 20 years. Here's what one voter asked Senator Collins' empty chair last night.
My question for you is very similar to so many people have asked you tonight. Where have you been? When Elon Musk gave his Nazi salute on stage and was celebrated by your party, where were you? Where were you to stand up to say that white supremacy has no place in this country? Where the hell were you?
In upstate New York, voters confronted Congresswoman Elise Stefanik's empty chair, even though Stefanik won't be in Congress much longer since she's been tapped to be Trump's ambassador to the United Nations. In Florida's 7th congressional district, last night, 150 people showed up to yell at Republican Representative Corey Mills' empty chair. In North Carolina's 9th congressional district last night, Republican Representative Richard Hudson's empty chair got an earful about Musk's attack on veterans.
If I have the opportunity to speak to Richard Hudson, I'm going to ask him, how the hell do you get the gall to call yourself the veterans representative while you sit silent while Elon Musk and Donald Trump fired over 6,000 VA workers and they're planning to fire another 80,000?
And in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, as we showed you last night, voters had plenty to say to Republican Derek Van Orden's empty chair. With their Republican congressman a no-show, Wisconsin Secretary of State Sarah Godlewski stepped in to field the voters' questions.
People of Eau Claire and the people of the 3rd CD deserve answers when a representative votes on a bill to cut $1.5 trillion. And this money is going to impact essential services that Western Wisconsinites rely on.
He says the budget is not meaning that we're going to cut Medicare and Medicaid. Well, I'd like to see that in writing, that he's going to oppose any bill that cuts funding.
My question for Mr. Van Orden is, where are you and how can your constituents reach you?
Where are you and how can your constituents reach you? Joining us now is the Wisconsin Secretary of State, Sarah Godlewski. Sarah, we saw you last night. We were airing this stuff, and we had said that Van Orden's not there, but there was somebody standing in the front who was receiving the questions, and that was you. You were accommodating the idea that voters have, I don't know if it's a right where it's written down, but have an expectation in America that they are able to speak to, access, and hold their elected officials to account.
No, that's exactly right, Ali, and thanks so much for having me. I mean, I've now done 2 town halls this week in my hometown district in Western Wisconsin, and people are showing up because they believe in fairness and they also believe in accountability. They are seeing how Elon Musk, this unelected billionaire, is making cuts to vital programs that they rely on, while at the same time he's using the White House front lawn like it's some sort of Tesla showroom. And Wisconsinites are like, where's the accountability? Well, the accountability is with Derek Van Orden, who is their congressional representative, but he's nowhere to be found. He refuses to hold any in-person town hall meetings, and he's treating his important job more like he's part of the witness protection program instead of actually meeting with constituents who want to talk to him, and they deserve better.
And to be clear, because a number of Republicans are saying we're not going there because there are George Soros paid for activists who are running these things. We have watched these across the country. These are voters, these are veterans, these are people who live in rural America. In some cases like yours, the elected Secretary of State in the front of the room. This is not a George Soros-funded initiative. This is voters who would like answers about their veterans benefits and their Social Security and their Medicaid. And by the way, why Elon Musk is so influential in this government.
Well, that's exactly right. I showed up in my home district because I believe Western Wisconsinites deserve an elected official that's going to listen to them and is going to show up. And Western Wisconsinites were having these questions about Elon Musk's intent. And they should, because they're seeing that he has billions of dollars of government contracts, but yet he's willing to cut these vital programs because to him, they're just numbers on a balance sheet. But I'll tell you, they're not numbers on a balance sheet. They are veterans, they're farmers, they're students, they're healthcare providers. I mean, a farmer was sharing at our town hall yesterday that he bought energy efficient equipment because he was told that the government, there's a REAP program that will reimburse him for that. And DOJ just cut that program. So now he's on the hook for hundreds of thousands of dollars of equipment that he was told the government would pay him back, and they're not going to do that. And as a farmer, he's already facing tariffs. He's not sure how he's going to pay his bills. And farmers are critical to our lifeline across the country, putting food on our tables. And some billionaire is dictating who's going to get money and who's not. Again, that's not what a democracy looks like.
Not just tariffs, but the USAID cuts. USAID provides food to countries that is grown in America. So farmers are losing those contracts. I just want to bring up.
This is how bad it's getting for Trump. As I've said, you have to view every Republican town hall as a Trump town hall because there is no independence for 99% of GOP members anymore. This is not 2016, 2017, where it wasn't exactly clear how much Trump was going to take over the Republican Party. There were still some anti-Trump Republicans, and the cult had not fully solidified its roots yet. Now it has. Every one of these rallies is a Trump, and town halls, meetings, whatever, is a Trump event, or people protesting Trump. You could see whether it's a Trump event officially, people have effigies of Trump and of Musk. You saw it in some of those videos. And what's happening now is that Trump Republicans are just not showing up. So people are doing town halls without them. We've seen like AOC say, I'll visit. You have a red district and your congressman is meeting with you. I'll do it. I'll do it for you. Other Democrats have made that offer. But it's like in some cases, they're just putting an empty chair saying Donald isn't showing up. Elon isn't showing up. Our senator isn't showing up. Our congressman isn't showing up. And let's be clear. Donald has already made it clear how he acts once elected. He held rallies throughout his presidency. And now he's hiding away. It's because he's scared of accountability from the people who made him president.